The use of table napkins extends all the way back to the times of the Greeks and Romans, but the placement, size, color, etc. has changed often through the years, depending on the meal and the occasion. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Sonia and I'm really glad you're here. Are you a cloth or paper napkin kind of person? There certainly appears to be a much wider variety of paper napkins to be found, with every design, color, even printed sayings or statements made on them. Some are pretty funny. Usually you'll find the widest variety in these smaller cocktail sizes. But did you know there is a proper napkin size for afternoon tea? The dimensions should be smaller than the average dinner napkin, but it should be bigger than a cocktail napkin. Really, the basic rule of thumb is the bigger the meal, the bigger the napkin. There are even charts that explain such things, with the size of cocktail napkins running anywhere from 6 to 9 inches or 15 to 23 centimeters square, while dinner napkins, depending on whether it's a casual or very formal affair, can be anywhere from 18 to 26 inches or 46 to 66 centimeters square. That's a big piece of cloth. But the napkin size for afternoon tea is consistently reported to be about 12 inches or 30 centimeters square. Plates for afternoon tea are traditionally smaller, like a dessert or side plate, and the smaller napkin is big enough to handle any polite dabs, while not being so large as to feel you're wearing the tablecloth. This one is actually a 10-inch napkin, and you can get by with that, but I wouldn't go any smaller. The challenge can be in finding a 12-inch square napkin. I personally prefer cloth over paper because I think it's more elegant, and frankly, it feels better to use. But finding new 12-inch cloth napkins can be difficult. Type that description into a search engine, and usually what you end up getting are pages that offer a set of 12 napkins of any other size, usually dinner sized. I think it's worth attempting to find, though, and in doing research for this video, I found a plethora of vintage 12-inch square tea napkins on eBay. Once you find the size, there is the choice of color and/or pattern. Traditionally, in the early 20th century, the norm was for the napkins to match the tablecloth, often a white linen or silk damask, especially for a formal afternoon tea atmosphere. Now there is much more leeway in the choice you make, and it's really up to you for whatever tone or ambiance you're going for. I personally like to keep the tablecloth simple in a white, cream, or cheerful pastel, with the napkins more in line with, say, the china pattern or the tableware and the holiday or occasion. Even selecting a more casual pattern for a more casual afternoon tea. Also, I like a pattern as opposed to a solid color, since stains and oils are more obvious on a solid color. Even though this little napkin, I think, reads solid red on camera, there is a subtle pattern that gives some definition and hides most soiled areas. And once you have your napkins, the next question is, where do they belong on the place setting? Well, traditionally, one of two places. Either simply on the plate, and if there is an embellishment, make sure it's facing the guest, or the napkin can be folded and placed to the left side of the plate. But what is a proper fold? Well, sometimes simple really is better, and the clean and easy quarter fold works just fine. It looks nice and neat just in the center of the plate. If you prefer it to the side, a neat triangle works well. But if you want to show off a cute or clever napkin fold, there are some that aren't too complicated and will work easily for this small size on a small plate. I think this fan fold is one of the prettiest. You start by folding the napkin in half, smoothing it out. Then from the short side, at the bottom, start making small accordion folds, just back and forth, until you get about halfway up. Then turn it over and fold that in half. Hang on, let me move this where you can see it better. This flat bit will end up being the stand, so you fold it down and then back up. And then when you fan it out, it stays put. Isn't that pretty? It looks lovely next to a plate or on the plate. And I think it's an especially lovely design. And this is what your guests will see when they sit down. This second fold works especially well with a two-sided napkin, one with a design on both sides. You start with a napkin in the quarter fold, folding down the first layer and then the second. When you flip it over, you want to fold the side corners to meet in the middle. Then flipping it back over, you have a neat pocket. This looks lovely next to the plate, but I think it looks especially nice on the plate. It's a really pretty presentation. The third fold is the napkin rose. It starts by folding the napkin in a triangle, smoothing it out well, then rolling or folding about half to 3/4 of the way up. Then, on one end, start a tight roll. Get it where you can see it better. And you're going to roll all the way across. I'm starting to see this rose fold napkin in cafes and restaurants. Sometimes they stuff them in the teacups themselves. And once you get to the end, you want to tuck the tail and it can be a bit of a challenge if you've rolled it really tight like you should. Then it becomes a bit of an effort to get that end piece tucked in there neatly, but you can. And once that's done, peel down the two long ends. These will be your leaves. Isn't that pretty? You may need to work with it just a little bit to get it to sit just right, but keep working, it will. Like I say, I've seen these tucked into teacups, but I think they look pretty just on the plate itself. Finally, the easiest fold works especially well with a floral napkin. Just pinch it in the middle, gathering it all up, and with a napkin ring, just bunch it like a bunch of flowers. Now, napkin rings are traditionally a larger size than one that would fit a tea napkin. They're made more for a dinner napkin size, but if you keep working with it, it looks lovely on a plate. So now that the napkin is placed, the place setting is complete, and you are seated, how do you lay your napkin on your lap? Well, it's small enough at 12 inches, you could conceivably open up the entire napkin and lay it on your lap. But it's advised not to do that because you need a fold in order to hide the soiled spots. And for that, there are two schools of thought. The one I see most is to keep the napkin folded in half with the fold toward you. When you need to use it, you then fold the first layer back and pick up the whole napkin to discreetly dab your mouth. When you put it down, the layer is folded back and the smudge you have made is concealed. Now, if you choose this method, what I often see people doing is picking up the napkin like this, dabbing the underside, and then putting it back down on their lap. But that allows whatever is on the napkin to be transferred to their clothing. So you need the fold method to ensure that doesn't happen. The other school of thought I have heard comes from former royal butler Grant Harold. He says lay the napkin fold away from you with the layers closest to you so that you can easily pick up the corner and dab and put it back, and nothing can be seen and nothing gets on your clothing. I do think that's a much less complicated action and the one I personally prefer to use. But you do what you're most comfortable doing. And there you have it, just a few ideas for one of the most important accoutrements for an afternoon tea. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it perhaps gave you some easy ideas for hosting your next gathering. If it did, hit that like button to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more afternoon tea videos. Until next time, bye-bye.